the several slides. This presentation concerns the validation of the management structures and oversight mechanisms we have designed for this regional citizens dialogue platform. And so we have here the different management structures. There's a lag on the slide. Here we are. Okay, so these are the different management structures. We have the role of the program leadership team, the role of the advisory board, the role of the steering committee, as well as then definitions of what it means to be a member, the frequency of meetings that are to be expected, and the agenda, minutes, and decision papers that need to be circulated prior to meetings, and the aspect of proxies who can attend on behalf of steering committee members is also defined in this TOR. So there's a bit of a lag on the slide. The role of the program leadership team would be, it's made up of partners in the consortium. These are 4 partners that you're well aware of by now, I hope. And it ensures the effective planning of human and financial resource mobilization, as well as program management control, and also ensures the overall judiciary management of the project and provides assistance to the Joint Secretariat in financial and administrative planning and budgeting. The Joint Secretariat is something that I'll come to further down in terms of the role and the functions of the Joint Secretary. Then we also have the role of the advisory board. We aim to bring together an advisory board that will assist with the advocacy of the initiative, developing strategic partnerships, as well as supporting resource mobilization. It will also contribute to the realization of the overall vision of the project. So this is, and just to mention that this is an advisory role, so the decisions are to be taken into account by the project lead as states in the name, as advice to support the more effective implementation of the project. Now we come to the role of the steering committee. None of these functions will surprise you. These are the usual typical functions that are implemented by the steering committee of any project. So we have effectively the assurance of the program, supporting the implementation of the main recommendations of the Africa Governance Report 2023 on constitutional changes of government, ensures the program builds synergies with existing initiatives, ongoing efforts of ECOWAS, AU, and ECOSOC, and other relevant civil society organizations, and the international community on preventing and responding to UCG. So we want to emphasize here for our specific steering committee the importance of linking the work that we do with the existing frameworks that Dr. Sandy was referring to at the beginning of the presentation, and the importance of linking this initiative to existing framework and architecture within the AU as well as within ECOWAS. So I won't get deeper into that, but this is an explicit mention of the importance of tying the work to those existing frameworks. Then responsibilities of the chair of the steering committee. They will be responsible. This function will be taking place on a rotational basis every 6 months among the main partners involved in the management and implementation of the regional citizens dialogue platform. And should the current chair be unable to attend, any one of the partners can automatically serve as a committee chair. And we move on to the responsibilities of the steering committee members. And these are again typical responsibilities for members of any steering committee leading the management of a project. We're looking at ensuring high-level collaboration and cooperation with the relevant stakeholders at national and regional levels, understanding goals, objectives, and the desired outcomes of the project, and understanding and representing the interests of the program stakeholders, as well as taking a genuine interest in the program's outcomes and overall success. Now, this is to say, I hope that most of you who are directly affected by these terms of reference have had the opportunity to run through them. You will see that in the package that's prepared for you, you have the full outlining of the functions and responsibilities. So what I'm presenting now on screen is simply a summary with the most important functions outlined, as you can see on the screen. Now, when we're looking at the membership of the steering committee, the core steering committee, and this is what we come to. I think it's what the point that most concerns those of you present here in the room today. In terms of the membership, the steering committee, the core steering committee, will be supported by an enlarged group of friends of the steering committee, we're calling, and these will be composed of regional partners, sponsors, representatives from relevant organizations, and other strategic actors. And these friends will be able to attend the steering committee meetings as observers, and will have the same authority as that delegated to proxies. So the members of the steering committee should be selected on the basis of their specialist knowledge, ability to represent the interests of stakeholders, and ability to help resolve the issues the project might face. And now we have, in the next slide, what we have now outlined as the core group of the steering committee. These are the four partners that form the consortium implementing the project here today. So this is the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, you've heard of extensively at this point, the Regional Center for Governance and Security Policy Initiative, as well as the Banting Center for Leadership and Journalism, and ourselves at CAICID. Then we move on to the steering committee membership. This list, as it says there, is not exhaustive. We have, of course, the four core members as part of the consortium that are part of this list. And then we move on also to include our colleagues from the Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace that are here represented today by two of the leaders. And we have also listed the Kofi Annan Foundation, as well as the West African Democracy Solidarity Network, WADEMOS, who we heard from here today, One Campaign, who we're hoping to hear from online, but this was not possible, as well as the West African Civil Society Forum and the African Security Sector Network. Now, these are the partners that we hope to involve within the steering committee. I'm not sure of which of them are present still in the room today, but I know we have a few of them. And so just to mention that this list is not exhaustive, but these are the kinds of partners that we hope to involve as members of the steering committee for your consideration. And then we have the list of friends of the steering committee, again, a non-exhaustive list, and I know that we have the head of programs present here from ECOSOC, as well as ECOWAS representation. This is the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, that should be APRM, as well as UN development partners, United Nations Development Program, United Nations Office for West Africa, as well as the National Democratic Institute. So again, this is a non-exhaustive list, but it offers an of the kind of partners that we want both to involve at the level of the steering committee as well as friends of the steering committee in a more advisory and advocacy role. Now, these are, again, more technical issues. Frequency of meetings, these will be determined by the first meeting of the steering committee core group, and will be planned quarterly or decided by the steering committee. Now we have, again, more technical issues here in terms of the kind of packages of documents that are expected in order to support the functioning of the steering committee. The mention of proxies, which outlines that the members of the steering committee can send proxies to meetings. Proxies are entitled to participate in decisions, but are not allowed a role in the decision-making process itself. And we also have the steering committee members informing the steering committee chair as soon as possible if they intend to seek a proxy no less than 2 business days before the scheduled meeting. So then again, this is sort of technical issues to when a proxy is able to attend and represent and when they're not. And another salient point, the creation of a joint secretariat. This is what we aim to achieve so that to ensure the effective functioning of this initiative. This will be a staffed joint secretariat. We'll keep it lean, and we want it to be as effective as possible. It will be based here in Abuja. And if the next slide, I don't know why it's not coming through. Here we are. These are the main functions of the Joint Secretariat, which as I mentioned, will be based here in Abuja, and we're going to pull our resources within the consortium of partners to make sure that we have a functioning secretariat that's able to implement their mandate. And these are, again, outlining the main functions. It will act as the secretary of the program leadership team and the steering committee to develop the strategic direction of the initiative. It will prepare, revise, implement, and deliver the approved annual work plans. It will also organize program advisory and technical committee meetings and provide technical feedback on the management and implementation of Rcdp, as well as coordinate and manage the overall delivery of this initiative in an effective, transparent, and efficient manner through collaboration with ECOWAS Commission, civil society organizations in member states across the region, and other partners. And so with that, I've just run through the main functions of the oversight mechanisms that we hope to implement that will oversee the effective implementation of this initiative. And the idea is that we reach some kind of consensus in the room. I hope that you've managed to look at the more detailed outline of the expected functions of these various oversight mechanisms. Within the document it says that more concrete terms of reference will also be shown, but the spirit, I think, has been captured of what we aim to accomplish with these oversight mechanisms. So now we will have the floor open for any comments, questions, and allow further discussion on what you've just heard and seen on the screen. And again, you have this all in full, comprehensively outlined in the packages that have been prepared for you. So thank you very much for your attention, and looking forward to your questions and feedback. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nunez. I think the arrangement is that we will take the second presentation and then we will have a discussion on both. But my comment is that this appears to be very well thought out and to have conformed to all the principles of best practice in governance of such bodies. So, but this is my own personal comment, and we will hear more from participants later. So it's my, if you would like to come back to your seat, please. And I would like to invite Dr. Tony Cabo, representing the Regional Center for Governance Security Policy Initiative, to make his presentation on the draft program inception work plan.
Good afternoon, all. My task here is really one, and that is to present to you the work plan for the first year of our intervention. And this work plan, some of it has already been introduced by Dr. Sandy during his presentation. It actually includes the conceptualization of the project, the establishment of a steering committee, and all of this has already been done. So I'll take it from that point in terms of establishing the steering committee and the other activities that will come thereafter. That's what I will try to present here. I'm just waiting for the technical people to come up with the slide. Of course, as we all know, a major task involved in the implementation of any program or project will have to involve of resources. It looks like this is not coming up the way we want it to come up. I can't read it. Okay. Let me stand by your computer. I think that might be better for me because I really cannot read it. All right. Oh, sorry. All right. The activities for this year, like I started saying, include the official launch of the program, which we have already done today. The program has been launched already. And of course, a very major activity following this launch program would be a regional consultative conference on the implementation of the program itself. This will involve really engaging all civil society actors, members of the Rcdp and friends of Rcdp at a regional conference that we hope will then strategize and come up with practical steps to implement the program itself and how it has been conceptualized. We remember this morning when Dr. Sandy was making his presentation, he laid out the 5 pillars of interventions, and we hope that this conference, the very first conference, will actually be the place at which we will then, really come up with ideas to actualize the strategic vision of the program itself. And also it has been already that there is a need for the establishment of a joint secretariat. And this, in fact, is necessary because for you to implement such a very ambitious program, you require strategic human resources to help to carry out the functions of the program. This includes also, in fact, taking the leadership in resource mobilization, taking the leadership in other activities that the program would come up with. A third program for this year, we believe will be, of course, establishment of an ICT web portal system. This is necessary for communicating with various partners in the region for quick action, especially when we think about the fact that one of the core pillars of this initiative is really on the preventive side, which means that we need to have a very effective communication system that will alert the Secretariat and the leadership of the program to take preventive action as soon as certain triggers are seen in a particular member state or in a particular space. I started talking earlier about the need for a very aggressive resource mobilization strategy, and throughout the year of 2024 the program will be engaged in mobilizing resources, and I think the person coming to speak after me will make a presentation on what we have outlined as major strategic pillars of resource mobilization. This is an important aspect of our functioning this year, and we hope that our traditional and non-traditional partners whom we shall be approaching for support will assist us in that effort. And of course, the fact that we have as our core partner the Dante Center already suggests to us that there has to be a media component in this program. And so we do have, this year, as part of an important activity, is to develop an elaborate and coherent media and communication strategy to support the implementation of the program on UCG in the region. And under the leadership of the Dante Center, we believe that this aspect will be a major focus of activities this year. I think in a nutshell, these are the various activities we hope to pursue this year in 2024. Generally, I think I need to mention that this is a 3 to 5 year program, and for this first year, these are the main items that I've just enumerated that we'll be engaged in, and that is the regional conference, the establishment of program secretariat, the ICT web portal, the resource mobilization, and of course the strategic communications program that we hope to establish this year in 2024. Mr. Chair, I think this is what...
Thank you very much indeed. We have actually saved about 7 minutes because they were supposed to take 15 minutes each, but between the two of them, they only took about 23 minutes. Okay. Yeah, so we open discussion now on the two presentations. Comments, queries, requests for clarification, critique. Yeah, you want to see?
At least it would be useful for those that were mentioned in the presentation, in particular concerning membership of the steering committee group, as well as what we propose to be friends of the steering committee. If those representatives are in the room, it would be great to hear from you if you are willing and able to form part of the steering committee or friends of the steering committee. That would be appreciated, so we start building some consensus there and understanding as to who will be directly involved with supporting this initiative. Thanks very much.
Yes.
I know, for example, that we have a representative of Wademos in the room, and they were listed as steering committee members. I'm wondering if the representative could make a comment on that. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, thank you very much for the presentations. Very insightful, detailed, and well conceptualized. What else would just want to reiterate our commitment to the dialogue program. As I did indicate in my earlier statement, that the program provides opportunity to strengthen resilience, to enhance the value, and build synergies among the work that we are doing. So we accept and we want to commit our loyalty to the program and to accept to serve on the steering committee. The governance structures and the delivery mechanisms as have been outlined seems to provide a lot of optimism and aspiration for delivering this particular program. We will share our experiences as the program evolves, but we are very much certain that this is a course and an initiative that really aligns strongly with the values of Wademos. So once again, we give you our firm commitment to be part of the project and to serve on the steering committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful indeed. Can we have more of the people, organizations listed responding? Please. ECOSOC.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think it's in the same spirit of just confirming our availability. I observed that ECOSOC has been added together with other multilaterals as part of the Friends to the steering committee group, and we are available to avail the resources, the material and network that we have to the work of the steering committee. And so you can count on our support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ECOSOC. Oh yes, ECOWAS representative left, but before he did so, he confirmed the willingness to participate as well. Okay. Any other? Okay. Okay. Any other issue maybe on the first year work plan? Yeah, Professor Fua.
Professeur Fouad, de
Merci.
l'Institut national de la politique et des études stratégiques.
Yes, Prof. I am just drawn aback as to the papers presented. I wanted to interject in some aspect of the paper presented as to the response and preventive measures of the organization. My comment would be that in all the presentation that has been put down here, I've not seen anything that raised the question about trust and contract position that the citizens are supposed to place on the government and governance of their countries. You see, the idea of trust, if I don't trust you, I can't give you responsibility. And if I trust you, I give you responsibility, I should have the powers to recall you back. Instead of responding to all these things, if we are able to put in place certain mechanisms that will raise awareness to trust issue in our constitutional provision, we are ceding our powers to this leadership. And when they come to the center, they become demigods. How do you entrust and how do you ensure that there is trust mechanism in all that we are doing? That we are sending you there is a social contract. When we don't need you, if you're not doing well, we should call you back home. This is why we have these issues in Africa. Meddling, international meddling in our governance, and then the right people are not chosen to run. Let me cite an example. In the entire West African sub-region, we had issues in Algeria, issues in Tunisia, issues in Nigeria, and all over, issues in Liberia and Sierra Leone. And we have this child soldiers that have grown up 34, 35 years now and are becoming leaders in the West African sub-region. Those who had cut people's hand, those who have committed sacrilegious and are becoming leaders in Africa. How do you ensure trust that this person you are given responsibility will take care of the country? These are some of the issues we are trying to raise, to turn it, not to respond to it. How do we deter it from the beginning? If you say respond to it, there is nothing you can do to a sovereign country who decides not to do anything. But a sovereign country can be deterred through the choice of the people, the votes, and the contract entered into in our constitution.
Okay.
These are some of the comments I want to put for the organization to tinker with.
Yeah, thank you very much. If I may just respond before allowing Mr. Nunes and Dr. Cabo. You know, the recall mechanism is enshrined in our own constitution here in Nigeria. But tell me one instance where it has succeeded. It's there. The recall mechanism is there. But it has never succeeded. In fact, I don't think, maybe I recall some attempt to use it, maybe one or two instances. But of course they failed. So it is there. But you see, this session is not about those kind of details. We're looking at the governance structure, how is this project going to be run, and things like that. So we're not going to go down to the nitty-gritty of particular issues and how to resolve them. This is my own response, but it may be misguided. I will ask the experts to respond.
No, Prof, that's why I said I'm taking it back.
Yeah. Do you want to respond?
Nothing to add to that.
Okay. Dr. Cabo? You see that? Where is he? Yeah. Tony? Oh, yes. Do you have anything to add?
I think your response is adequate, sir.
Okay.
Je crois que votre réponse est bonne déjà.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to the two presenters. Two things I noticed there about the role of the steering committee as well as the advisory board. You did mention the role of the advisory board, but you said not now to have the time. The frequency also need to come in, so that will also guide the participants, the frequency of the meeting, and then the ENOAS as well in West Africa and Sahel, so that if the letter is to be sent to them. But there is a need to just talk about the timing. There is also need, I don't know, the people are here, there's also the need to bring people like WANEP. And then just in line with my brother, you can not just discard what he has said. You can't totally discard it, because right now the person is referred to in Liberia, I won't mention, they appointed him the Minister of Defense, and the people went against it. Yes, and he has to surrender. He was even the parliament. It has been a thing of general concern to people like me and Chambers. Here are people, you cut people's hand. I just finished a work for Chatham House on the issue of peace agreement. You tend to see some of them get these big, these are things, underlining factors that causes some of these things that are never addressed openly. So if you are right, Nigeria has the constitution, the implementation, how far has it? The federal character is there. Even those so-called countries like Sierra Leone, Liberia, we are talking, there are some internal dynamics based on this issue. This is areas where we are, and I'm telling you from my 18 years of experience in ECOWAS, it is the civil society that will do the work. The states are not ready. They are not ready to open the Pandora box. So let's talk it here. The civil society are here, the think tanks are here. This is a medium to express those things out so that it will filter in when we are discussing. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to respond to it?
Thank you very much. The comments are very well noted, and in fact this is precisely the spirit of this initiative, with having civil society at the forefront, given that they will, in fact, as you said, do the work, or the majority of the work. Regarding the frequency of meetings, that's well noted as well. You'll notice that within the more elaborated document that you have within the package, it makes reference to the advisory board meeting biannually. And it also states that a more detailed TOR will be circulated in due course. But thanks very much for noting that. In fact, the periodicity of the meetings is something that we've taken into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Gadwa, you can go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm taking you back to the work plan and to say that it's very encouraging to see, the involvement of wide range of partners, and those of us coming from the NTA center accept the role envisaged for us, and we think there is a significant role the media would play in mobilization, both at local and national levels, social groups, revolutionary groups, and what have you. So what I'm saying is that there is a clear indication from this program there is a determination to succeed, and we'll do our part. Thank you very much.
I think it was just a comment. I'm not sure if it was a comment, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Deborah Oduobo, and I'm representing the Director General of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. Having listened to the presentations, mine is more or less like a request. I saw the list of partners that are featured there, and I wish to request that the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution be included as a strategic partner because of the role they play in trying to research and build trust and confidence among the citizens of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the intervention. In fact, you may know that International Dialogue Center KC has been partnering with IPCR for some time on projects developing, for example, a policy network, bringing also religious actors into that network to develop more inclusive policies that takes into account the needs of both faith communities, mainly Christian and Muslim faith communities in Nigeria, as well as other work that we have planned for 2024. So it is a valued and trusted partner for the International Dialogue Center, and I'm very welcome also to take part in this initiative as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I think I just wanted to comment on the terms of reference. I think I see elements of rules of procedure here. I'm not sure if a standalone rules of procedure will be, set of rules of procedures will be developed or not. But since we are talking about frequency of meetings, is quorum going to be something that is applicable or relevant here? Because it says that if there are members who are not available, they can send proxies who have a limited role to play. So would there be a question of proxies? A question of quorum or not? If there is, I think it should be specified. And then I would suggest also that we have a mechanism for making the agenda setting as inclusive as possible. So if it's going to be the Secretariat or the Steering Committee setting the agenda, that at least there'd be opportunities for the other groups here in the document to be able to contribute, because I think, as we have seen, issues around the social contract from our side as ECOSOC, for instance, we really feel that there is a crisis of confidence in our multilateral institutions that really needs to be addressed as part of this work, where you have citizens simply not only lacking belief in our institution, but actually quite hostile in some cases. And I think we need to find a way of rebuilding the trust and confidence that our citizens need to have in our institutions if we are to be successful. So I think it would be good to allow everyone to be able to feed into the agenda setting so that we can bring into the conversation the things that we have learned also from all of our different vantage points. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nana, for those comments. Very well noted, particularly regarding the being as inclusive as possible in the agenda setting, where we're now considering the notion of quorum and how we find that balance between being able to have effective executive decision making, be as fluid as possible, but also taking into account the concerns of the main partners of the steering committee. So those are very well noted. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Query? Okay, Azu? Mission accomplished. Thank you. Yeah.
Just before Azu. Yes, sorry, just to allay our colleague from Dante Center, from NIPS, sorry. We did not have time to circulate the log frame, but one of the, under economic governance and public accountability, it's here. The threat is a lack of public trust in state and democratic institutions. Then what we identify, we say create an enabling environment where citizens can properly be educated on citizens' responsibility in democratic governance to promote the social contract issues. They are here. Support at its 5 interactive dialogue. Then when you come to military intervention and terrorism, number 1, 5.1 is persistent crisis in state-society relation as a result of high cost of living and economic hardship. So lack of public trust is also there. And what we have defined, Professor Osha and Azu said, no, Jonathan, we talk.
Yes, sir.
So I'm just saying, when we circulate that, you will see that some provisions on how do we address the social contract, especially meeting the needs of it. They have been reflected.
It. Just like Professor Munzali has said, we have done.
No, but what we are saying, when you talk to Dr. Adeyemi, we are here, advocacy, lobby.
NIPS is a public sector institution, and all the groups. So we want to see, look, we've not been doing it well. How can we do it better? So if you have alternative views or some innovations that we need to, embed, in the program, which is the subject of discussion, we'll be happy to that.
The response, as Professor Monzeli has said,
thank you,
is positive. And I was, but she has already spoken. I was going to introduce her, but she has done that already. The Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution has been around since 2000.
HCG.
to make presentation. You have Mr. Abe? Oh, okay, good. Thank you. So please.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Abe. Vous avez 2 minutes pour la présentation. Merci.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I stand on the existing protocol? My job here is very start to appreciate, since my work here is to look at the resource mobilization strategy. I'll first start by appreciating the organization that is behind our being here today. Financially, they have first done the first thing to make this thing happen today. So we appreciate Mr. Nunes. The purpose here for us is to look at the resource mobilization in assisting in raising the required resources to implement most of our activities contained in the program document. We know that unconstitutional changes of government is now presenting a formidable obstacle to stability, democracy, and good governance in West Africa. Addressing these root causes of UCG and implementing effective prevention strategies are paramount for fostering peace, security, and democratic principles in the region. So therefore, the Regional Citizen Dialogue Program is thereby endeavoring to cultivate collaborative initiatives among West African citizens, critical regional and continental global partner institutions, and the civil society to prevent and respond to UCG with a steadfast commitment to promote a comprehensive response. That's why we are here, trying to look at solution values for this. So the Regional Citizen Dialogue Program is hereby seeking to address these challenges by mobilizing resources to prevent and respond to UCG in the West African sub-region with a target activity period of 2004 to 2027 with a funding target of at least $2.5 million. Therefore, the RCG aims to complement existing AU initiatives and enhance citizen engagement to promote democracy, governance, and human rights. So this strategy is based on the following 5 points. So we are looking at cultivating relationship and in the course of our interaction with some of these things, we found it laudable as effective to assist in funding this program. The second objective is to look at the capacity building. We want to strengthen internal capacity for effective resource management and partnership development, because we thought that human resources and partnership development, we cannot deliver some of these activities. Diversification. We are looking at expanding the donor base to include private investors and corporate financial institutions. who also will have a buy-in to the program of this program. The fourth one is partnership promotion. We are looking at facilitating high-level engagement with governments, ministries, and parliaments to mobilize official development assistance from some of these organizational institutions. The fifth one is knowledge management. Because we are in the age of technology these days, there's no way you can endeavor to take over such a huge endeavor without deploying technology to manage most of these activities. So one of the most important is to establish a robust knowledge management RCT portal system to support resource mobilization and management, the efforts of the program. So to make this thing more clear to people, the kind of tax that this program is trying to look at, we are looking at the challenges and some of the root causes that have made us to be witnessing this kind of unconstitutional change in government in West Africa. One of them is economic equality. Economic equality, that is disparities sown seeds of social unrest and political instability. This amplifies the risk of UCG. West Africa is now grappling with some of the highest poverty rates globally, as per the World Bank's Poverty and Shared Prosperity Report. So there's a lot of discontent in economic levels of poverty in West Africa. Then the other one is insecurity challenges. Banditry, kidnapping, so some of these things. There are corruption, nepotism, and governance deficiencies, which is corroding public trust in democratic institutions, sustainability, the UCG. Transparency International Corruption Perception Index for 2020 highlights some of these vastness of corruption across most West African countries. Also, the role of security agencies. We are looking at part of the activities strengthening the capacity and efficacy of security agencies, which is imperative for upholding stability and the rule of law. The other one is social factors. Ethnic tensions, religious conflict, and youth unemployment has exacerbated political instability and contribute to the risk of UCG. So addressing this social factor is crucial for promoting peace and stability, which is going to be one of the champions of the program. So we have identified certain, the RCD is going to partner with some of these regional organizations or international organizations that are actually addressing in other ways. There are institutions that are being institutionalized to look at some of this. Cross-border cooperation, which is enhanced collaboration among ECOWAS member states, which is pivotal for combating transnational security threat. The West African Network for Peace Building leads regional peace building endeavors. This is going to be one that will actually collaborate with us. Community engagement. Looking at empowering local communities shall foster grassroots participation in democracy and governance. The National Democratic Institution also champions this citizen engagement and fortified democratic institutions. We are also looking at the issue of counter-terrorism measures. A comprehensive approach to counter-terrorism is also indispensable in thwarting terrorist group and preventing UCG. Here we have the Global Counter-Terrorism Forum that facilitates international collaboration in this region.
Okay, Mr. Abe, you have 2 minutes to go, please.
Yes. So, in summary, what we are looking at here is we are looking at in confronting the challenges posed by unconstitutional changes of government, the Regional Citizen Dialogue Program
stand as a beacon of hope for West Africa. By mobilizing resources, fostering partnership, and addressing the root causes of instability, the RCDP aims to promote democracy, human rights, and the rule of law in the region. Together, through concerted efforts and unwavering commitment, we can build a future where peace, security, and good governance prevail. So, let us join hands to support the RCDP in its mission to create a brighter and more prosperous West Africa for generations to come.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Abe, for this presentation. We will ask for reactions from participants. Before we do that, I want to say that, Mr. Abe, you've given us fundraising strategies and even going beyond fundraising strategies, which is commendable. Thank you. But if we want to make contributions, can we just restrict ourselves to the fundraising strategies, please? Because that's what this session is all about. We need suggestions, we need recommendations, we need your reactions. Let's concentrate on the fundraising. The others are actually been dealt with somehow by other documents and other presentations. So thank you, please. Any reactions, any responses, any advice anybody has to give us? Yes.
Yes, fundraising.
Yes, Prof.
Most of the time we see fundraising as a very, very, sorry, my name is Fua Leona. People are committed. I would advise that this organization put in place membership first. When you get membership across West African sub-region, the first step is how many members do we have? If we have, for instance, 2,000 members in that committee, in that organization, and we're all determined to make that organization a very strong organization, we would just say, okay, for every month, can we give 1 million naira, or 100 naira, or 200 naira, times 12, times the number of people we have. You would see what we get. For instance, just take, for every member, we assume we have 2,000 members, and we give every month just 100 naira, times 1 month, times 12 months, times 2,000 persons. You will see what will come out of it. If we do that consistently for 2 years, that will give us some good money. Not to go, I did that for a university called Bingham University here. I asked the Equa Church, how many members do you have? They said, like 7 million people. I said, give me 2,000. Give me 2 million persons and let them pay me 50 naira every month. Times 12, times this number. And they saw it in billions. And we were able to build a university within 4.5 years. We provided what we need in terms of accommodation, faculties, and so forth within my tenure of 4.5 years. 7,500 bed space. And what I raised was, I made a total, what do you call it, total land and asset, 1.9 million. I left that place 17 point something billion. That was it.
Suggestions? This is where we need suggestions the most, please. Because it's all about money. Well, Azu, it's like...
I think money matters. People probably need to reflect.
A little bit, exactly.
Yes, money matters. Money matters. Take a bit of reflection.
All right.
But I'm sure that the message of that session, and thanks very much for moderating, and also for the presenter. The core message really is about resource mobilization, and it's a fundamental question that I'm sure we'll ask ourselves of. Why is it that when trouble breaks loose, money begins to pour in after the trouble has happened. But now we are here on this call to find what do we need to do, how can we mobilize resources to implement phases, the first 1 and 2 phases of the program. I think that we should all follow the lead of KAICID. KAICID, as I said earlier on, is putting its money where its mouth is. And I do get the point about numbers, you know, the value of numbers, because obviously also if people contribute, however small the amounts are, they also feel a sense of ownership and commitment. But if their money is not in it, then they don't obviously see any reason for them to be involved. I think that that's the point that is made by the crowdfunding, that as a strategy that Prof spoke about. But really, we really would urge partners who are on this call and those who are listening, what we need at this time for this resource mobilization is how to find the funds and the resources that we need to implement the first and second phases of this program. And that's really come to this particular session. Once again, I'd like to thank you for that presentation and also the moderator for his intervention. My colleagues from the press are already here, so we need to move a bit quickly because we're supposed to brief the press at 1 o'clock, and a good number of them are already in the room waiting for that press conference. I'm sure that we want to keep the narrative. We don't want them to go and say, look, these guys are not ready for us, and then we have to move and we start chasing them. I've given them my word that sooner than later. Next phase is the action points. Let me get that. I think where we are now, the next steps, that will bring us close to the end, and recommendations on the next steps. There are 2 moderators for this session. I will try and make this as super fast as we can so that we go to the closing, take the press conference. The moderators for this session, we have 2 moderators session. Professor Jimmy Adisa, pioneer head of the Secretariat COSOC in Abuja, and nations on the next step, because that exactly is the point that we are at now. So Prof and Lantana, thank you.
I will just start. Thank you very much. There's already, I'm going to give the floor to Ms. Lantana Abdullahi, because they already have some outcome things already noted. They have taken some, following this meeting, doing some secretariat work. So she will present it, and then I will ask you to, for about 5 minutes or 10, to look at it, and I will add my own comments. So I think Ms. Lantana, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lantana Bako Abdullahi, and I work for KAICID in Nigeria. And I'm here to co-moderate this session with Prof. And I'm happy he gave me the first role here. We divided the session into 2. One session is to share the recommendations that have already been made from yesterday to today. So we unpacked all of those and put them into a short PowerPoint presentation. And then the second session will be a plenary where Prof will handle that. Unfortunately, we are having some technical challenges from the Secretariat, so I'm going to use my, from my laptop, but we'll certainly be sharing the presentations shortly when they come on air. We have a set of 7 recommendations that have so far been made, and from the presentation, from the discussion, you will agree that, okay. Sorry for the break in transmission. I don't know what's happening. We actually have been trying to get it from his laptop on, but the network seems to be very slow. In any case, we actually have... go down.
Maybe I should give my...
We have a set of second recommendations that have so far been harvested. The first one is prevention of unconstitutional change of government through education. And I think a lot of the actors seated in the room spoke sensitization and awareness raising. And of course, there was also discussion about the fact that most of the response or interventions in Africa have actually been focused more on unconstitutional change of government, which has yielded for Africans, and of course designing and implementing capacity building to bridge skills gaps in democracy, peace and security. We are all aware that knowledge and skills in terms of democracy, civic education often are very low within the continent. The second recommendation we harvested from this conversation from yesterday to today is actually about dialogue and diplomacy. This point was also very much highlighted by Professor Munzali. And this, of course, also goes to show that we needed to do a lot in terms of not just dialogue with EU, but specifically with France and also Francophone Africa. And of course, we need the support of EU to facilitate this process. And of course, building a robust partnership and relationship for strengthening peace and stability within Africa and beyond. The third recommendation is establishing observatories and early warning hubs. Actually, I would have loved to listen all day to Professor Munzali, because a lot of the points were actually generated from his world of experience. The first, the discussion on that is establishing a CSO-led observatories and hubs. Actually, I've worked a lot on early warning, and I think I have a lot to say on this, to monitor, to document, and to respond to emerging threats to unconstitutional change of governments before the situations escalate. We are talking about prevention rather than response. Not just in terms of military action, just like the ECOWAS guy said, but also in terms of dealing with other threats within the countries or polity or within the continent. There are a lot of grievances, there are a lot of intercommunal clashes, there are a lot of religious tensions and violence. So of course we needed to monitor as many indicators as possible to manage the threats of change of government, unconstitutional change of government. This initiative recognizes that, of course, there are Africa Union-led and ECOWAS-led early warning hubs, but I think because we are looking towards a civil society-led, there's a need to build linkages with those ones, but making sure we carve an identity for ourselves, looking at an independent early warning hub that can serve and gain the trust of citizens of Africa. This requires credible and capable CSOs to participate in this initiative. Somebody has brought this issue about, are we sure about civil society organizations? Do we really have credible and capable civil society organizations? I've been in the field for many years, and I can tell you certainly we have capable, trusted, but it is a matter of how do we identify those key partners to work. Of course, this is also another point from you-know-who, research and studies. It is important that we commission evidence-based researchers and researchers to study why unconstitutional change of government thrive in Africa, and then document such case studies and successful or failed unconstitutional change of government, and of course the interventions that have so far been made. We had the stories about Gambia, and of course the case study around Niger, which were two complete opposite, but using the same tailor-made approach to deal with the same issue. But of course, we saw how the results were very much different. This is the one close to my heart. Of course, everybody who knows me in this room. We are talking about gender and youth inclusion. And I think this was also made clear from yesterday and even today, that we need to recognize in all that we do, talking about unconstitutional change of government, most of the times the attention goes to the military, to the political actors, to those, tier one, track one stakeholders, oftentimes neglecting or, forgetting about youth and women on ground. And examples were made around the role that women have played in countries like Liberia, in countries even like Niger, as most recent as Niger, where women are used to mobilize everyone, make sure their husbands are out, their children are out on the street. And so we need to recognize that women also have important role to play in promoting and responding to UCG. And thus we need to make deliberate attempts to ensure that the voices of women and young people, not just as beneficiaries, but also leading from the front. And then, of course, we can't also end this from, this recommendation came direct from KAICIT, because this is their mandate, and a lot of other actors who are on ground, that we need to recognize and harness the role of religious actors in Africa in preventing and responding to unconstitutional change of government. And that's why we even have a KAICIT partner in the room called Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace, which is an umbrella body for over 120 Christian and Muslim religious leaders in Nigeria who are also part of this conversation and also part of this, going to be part of the steering committee moving forward. Religion and religious leaders have immense influence on the continent, and I think recognizing that they can play such important role in influencing not just citizens but including political actors. This demography can play important role in changing narratives and influencing behaviors. And then the final comment was also from one of the participants in this room, talking about how ECOWAS is working to review its protocol on democracy and good governance. And we think that it is something that this initiative, the Rcdp, can contribute towards the achievement of this key objective within the ECOWAS. Because once they are involved, they can also be able to use it as a tool in the course of the work of the Rcdp. I think basically this, of course, fundraising was there, but because this initiative already has a fundraising strategy, and many other thoughts were actually shared on this platform. But I felt these were the 7 most important recommendations we generated from this conversation. Thank you so much, and I would like to hand over to Prof to continue the session. Thank you.
I think the session is on next steps. And I think one of the submissions we have at this meeting is priority actions, lines of actions, which has covered some of these next steps. Let me just look at it. One is to initiate strategic and integrated planning process.
So, Prof, can you speak up a bit, please? Would you like me to bring this microphone?
Thanks. So, yes. Sorry. The first thing on the agenda, I said that some of the next steps are adequately covered in the strategic priority plans, the work plan. The next step should be implement the work plan that we have done. And there are so many, there are some very good recommendations on this. The first thing is to initiate strategic and integrated planning process, which will facilitate collaborative meeting of regional cities, which is what is taking place now. Second is official launch of the RCCP. It was what took place yesterday. Regional Consultative Conference on the implementation of research. So we have organized the first international consultative conference on the implementation of the Regional Citizens Dialogue Program. I think that's the third one. That is must be a follow-up from this. Establish a functional joint program secretariat. establish a digital innovative information communication. And somebody has presented something like this. You know, finance and fundraising, which you have been talking about, which you also highlighted, and to elaborate a content media communication strategy to support the implementation plan. This is basically about 7 steps, which are the next steps. But 2 things I think we can improve on it. One is the timeline. As we are doing this, the first set will go for 2 years. I think that's it. Then what are we going to do in these 2 years? What follows each other? What's the cumulative process? And which timeline? Timelines are not rigid, but if you don't set yourself timelines, you will miss the whole something. Everybody, it's like we are doing the meeting now. If somebody can come and speak 30 minutes, then the timeline is blown up. So there must be a timeline. I think for each, 2 of them have been carried out, and then there must be a review process. If you have a program for 2 years, somewhere in the middle of those 2 years, you should have a framework for saying, did we achieve what we are doing? What is missing? What did we get wrong? How do we correct it? So I will explain that it should also be accompanying this priority plan of actions. There should be a review process and timelines. So that's the first thing. Secondly, as far as these things are concerned, there is a process by which you see from the outer society. What we are doing now is process within. There should be a process without, process around when civil society, our partners, also give us clue. There must be meeting with partners, and not just on fund mobilization, to ensure that they get a sense of how things are going and they feel it's going well. So I think I have a lot of other things, but I think I will stop here because of the time. Let me just add one thing. In some of our consultations before, people were looking at, is it right to call it unconstitutional change of government? Is it not right to call it democracy or so? There are several kinds of democracy. There is direct democracy. Even the one we are using here is representative democracy, where you elect people and they go. So changing the thing will not really have any fundamental effect. In fact, it will disrupt the synergy between what they are doing at the continental level and what we are doing here. So I think that's my final word. The plan of action is there, and after the plan of action, what's the next thing? Start implementing. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Prof. So eloquently done. Thank you very much indeed. And Lantana, thank you very much. Of course, you spoke with the passion that we know you always share about vulnerable groups, women and youths. Thank you very much for that as well. We need to move a bit quickly now. And the essence of what we have just heard, especially the way Prof summarized the sequencing, monitoring and evaluation is very important as we proceed. And of course, the need also for us to collaborate at every point so that we have an inclusive partnership indeed, and everyone can have a sense of ownership as we make progress. Thank you once again, Prof. I think we've come to the final point before we move to the press conference. And this is where I'm going to exercise my I was called the chief whip and also moderator. So I would invite, if I may, the lead partners to give just exactly 2 minutes, not more than 2 minutes each, as a way of wrapping this up, and then we can go straight from that into the press conference, because we do not have any more time. So let me begin, if I may, by inviting Professor Dongsha. Is the DG still around? Is the DG still here, please? The DG of NIPS. Because I think he stepped out. So, Prof, would you like to just give us a wrap-up in 2 minutes? And after that, we would, of course, have the chair of the regional center, and then after that, Professor Munzeli. Thank you. 2 minutes each.
Thank you very much, Azu. Let me just say I'm leaning on the already established protocols since morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies here present, behalf of the Director General Institute and all the committed members from the Institute, we want to thank all of you for joining us in this session. Indeed, when we became part of the consortium, Research and Advocacy Consortium, we were quite happy, to relate with civil society, and indeed, several discussions, went on, and we are here today. Our take from the National Institute is that we are committed, in every respect, to ensure that West Africa, which is a region that would remain very stable, and West Africa would be a region that will progress and become well developed. West Africa would become a region that will communicate, with amongst themselves and remain very strong in the region. So we're quite happy that this initiative is going to be very helpful towards attaining this very specific goal. And we have listened to the contributions, from the various partners. We've listened to contributions, from our colleagues who are joining from different parts, of Africa. And I am sure that we will take on board, all the suggestions that have been mentioned into the documents that we would revise. We're quite happy that our colleagues from KAICIT are also joining, and we are happy that they have provided the initial support, and we hope that